Today we have our Saturday night's main event review. We just got done watching it. It was a 4-card show, and this was probably the most well-paid Saturday night's main event that we got. It was majority wrestling, wasn't a ton of video package and just all the stuff that they throw in there, the ads and all that extra kind of fluff that they add in to kind of make the time up. This time it kind of felt like it was majority wrestling.
Yeah, this was one of my favorite Saturday's main events I think we've ever had, probably since, obviously, the Cena stuff was really good, but this show, I think, besides that, I think this is probably the best full show we've had. Like you said, a lot of wrestling, not a lot of filler stuff, and yeah, we got straight to the action, and yeah, I think that's what's really good about it.
Yeah, for sure, and we kicked things off with a big match, and that was Cody Rhodes versus Jacob Fatu. However, this match would never officially go underway. As Cody Rhodes was on the apron, like about to do the final woe of his entrance, Jacob Fatu attacks him from behind, pulls him into the ring, and they just kind of start scrapping all over the place. And it's kind of funny because they start fighting into the crowd, and they go in on like the camera side of the crowd. And then when they finally fight all the way around, they come down from the opposite of the camera side and come down that side. But yeah, really cool stuff there. And yeah, there was no, like I said, match official. They were kind of fighting backstage, just scrapping, a lot of punches being thrown. We've seen them fighting off security members. We've seen them go through tables, fight down the stairs, and yeah, just not too much to really talk about as far as match-wise here.
Yeah, it definitely, obviously isn't a match, but I think it does tell an interesting part where we might get this match at Mania now. I'll obviously see Drew McIntyre also get involved to kind of wrap things up and kind of finish and put both men to an end for the night. But yeah, this does feel like the match that we will have at WrestleMania, whether that is Cody versus Jacob one-on-one, no title, or you throw Drew in there with the world champion or the winner of this Fatal 4 potentially. You throw them in that and make it a triple threat, and you have that because it feels like Cody Rhodes will want to be still at the top of the WrestleMania card. However, with no title right now, who knows how you get there for him. But yeah, I did enjoy this little segment. I think it was a really good just continue to build that in this for them to show and tell you that this is probably going to be a bigger match for us.
Yeah, it protects both people going in to the Royal Rumble and everything, of course, keeping them looking strong and making them look believable winners of the Royal Rumble. They're not all kind of beat up necessarily, and I guess the idea behind it was to kind of, like you said, show that, hey, this is the direction we're going with this triple threat, because at the end we do see Drew McIntyre get involved as they're making their way through the crowd to get back to the ring. Finally, Drew McIntyre would appear, and he kind of pushes Jacob Fatu through a table, but then he gives the choke slam to Cody Rhodes through a table. Or was it a power bomb?
Power bomb.
Yeah, a power bomb to Cody Rhodes through the table, and it was a pretty cool setup because there was this weird like box area that Drew was able to stand on to throw him downwards, and it was just kind of like an awkward little metal part or whatever it was, but it was part of the arena, so it was pretty cool. But yeah, love to see it. Good stuff for Drew McIntyre. He looks very strong at this point of the show, and obviously Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu got off everything that they had, showing off all the aggression they had towards each other, kind of blow off their feud a little bit, but not necessarily because now Drew McIntyre is involved.
Yeah, but yeah, this match, or this like segment, I think was a very good way to start off the show and kick off the night with a lot of energy. You know, I'm glad that we have Drew McIntyre coming out the strongest out of this little match, because yeah, I think it's something that, you know, this is what these two guys are fighting for, the main guy now, and I think Drew with this run could be very short, could be a longer run. Who knows? I want it to be longer, but with that opportunity of Sami Zayn or Randy Orton coming after him, I think that can be a match where, you know, that could be a new champion right there. But yeah, I did enjoy this opening segment.
Yeah, and we're going to go on to the first official match of the night, and that is going to be Rhea Ripley and Io Sky defending their tag team titles versus the Judgment Day's Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez. And this one would come to an end after a whole lot of moments where we thought, okay, Judgment Day might actually win this. It's looking like they might actually do it. But what would happen is Raquel Rodriguez would come from under the ring. I would assume, you don't really see where she comes from, but I assume she comes from under the ring. She kind of grabs Rhea Ripley's legs and pulls her down, and she falls on top of the referee. A really cool spot. I like how they kind of planned that out to get the ref bump done. And after that happens, she obviously fights off Rhea Ripley, fights off Io Sky as well, gives her Tawana bomb. She goes for the pin, but that wasn't enough to get the job done. Roxanne Perez would get her pop rocks off on Rhea Ripley, would also not be enough to get the job done, as well as we've seen in Oblivion from Liv Morgan. It was still not enough to get the job done. They power through it all, and they do end up retaining the titles.
I really enjoy this match. Probably one of my favorite women's tag team matches of the year so far. I think Rios kind of continue to show. Obviously, this is the two biggest names in your women's division probably right now, and both women are absolutely killing it. They're completely over the crowd, obviously, and yeah, this match is really good. I love Roxanne Perez kind of getting a lot of close calls, and obviously, like we mentioned earlier, not being able to finish it, but was getting close a lot of the time. And yeah, it kind of reignites the feud of Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan in a way as well. But also, which you didn't mention, was that Stephanie Vaquer also came out and she attacked and kind of got away Raquel Rodriguez and kind of getting her back in this mix with some of the bigger names in the women's roster. Kind of, she is the world champion, teaming with the tag team champions. I think that's some really good TV matches that we probably will see on this upcoming Raw. Is a 6-woman tag match between the tag team champions and Stephanie versus the Judgment Day. But yeah, overall, another really good segment. Everybody kind of getting their stuff in, and yeah, great performance from the women tonight.
Yeah, seemed as if Stephanie Vaquer has fully healed from her ankle injury. She seemed to be walking fine. There was no boot on, so that is a big positive going into Royal Rumble, because we could get a potential match added for the women, because there is no women match outside of course, the Royal Rumble. But we're going to move on to the next match, and that's AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura, a match that got added on the Friday SmackDown right before this. And yeah, it was kind of one of those ones where it's like, why did they add this? But when you kind of put one and two together in your head and you start thinking about it, it's like, oh, obviously they have a big history with each other. Their New Japan history, their WrestleMania history, one of the bigger feuds of AJ Styles' career. And yeah, this was probably the best match of the night. I really enjoyed this stuff. Shinsuke Nakamura came out with his vintage Shinsuke kind of offense that he kind of bought from way back in the day, and we've seen a lot more unique stuff coming from Shinsuke in here, and he got over with the crowd. Obviously he always is when his music hits and all of that, but in ring they also got this match over, and it was really, really good, and I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I think this is probably the best performance I think we've seen from Shinsuke Nakamura in WWE since coming up to the main roster. This is one of this is what I think a lot of people expected to get 8 years ago at the WrestleMania match, but we get it here now in a time that feels very weird, like you mentioned as well with AJ Styles. It feels like, obviously, the closer we get to this match at Royal Rumble, him versus Gunther in a potential retirement match, the odds are looking kind of weak for AJ Styles in the looks that he might actually retire. It does feel kind of abrupt and kind of all of a sudden, but with a big match versus an old-time rival and a guy, he's kind of always been compared to because they both came from the same place and kind of came at the same time. It's going to be interesting to see where AJ does kind of finish up his career, whether that is here at the Royal Rumble next week or somewhere else, whether that's TNA and AEW, obviously, even New Japan. But yeah, this match I did really enjoy it though, and I'm glad we got to see Shinsuke back on a pay-per-view.
Yeah, Shinsuke looked really good in this one. Of course, AJ looked really good. We've seen a lot of offense from AJ onto Shinsuke Nakamura's knee. That's kind of what he was targeting throughout this whole match. And I was kind of assuming it would end in a calf crusher because he did pull that out with Gunther in their match. But he didn't go that way, but he went an even better route, in my opinion, because he did do a phenomenal forearm into a Styles Clash to get the win. And it was a very cool kind of progression in the way he got it done to end the match off. But yeah, really good stuff from these two. But we're going to go on to our main event of the night, the Fatal 4-Way match to determine the number one contender to face Drew McIntyre at the Royal Rumble next week. And we've seen Sami Zayn come out on top, defeating Randy Orton, Trick Williams, and Damian Priest. Now, this was a match that was all over the place. This was a pretty good match. Not my favorite. As I mentioned, AJ Styles and Shinsuke was my favorite match on the night tonight, but this was good nonetheless.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. Again, another match where everybody got to get their stuff in. Trick Williams, I think, being able to interact with guys like Sami Zayn and Randy Orton, and no shade to Damian Priest, but to the guys of those levels, for being so young, kind of so fresh to the roster, I think it's great that he's been able to showcase his talent. He had a lot of offense in and got his own fair share of close calls where he could have won this match. But yeah, in the end, Sami Zayn wins is the right call. In the hometown of Montreal, I think is also a really nice touch. He gets to go to Royal Rumble now and go against Drew McIntyre for that world champion. So I hopefully I do want Sami Zayn to eventually win a world champion, but I also don't want to see Drew win or lose this reign already. But I think it makes for an interesting match. I think it's going to set up for a huge opportunity for one of these men to walk out going into WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think this was a pretty obvious winner here. I think most people probably would have predicted Sami Zayn to win this match, and it was definitely worth it because when he did get that big win, the crowd popped for it, just crazily. Obviously, in his hometown of Montreal, they love him there. They're always gonna give him those big reactions and those big moments, especially. But that would not be what ended the night, because we seen Drew McIntyre return once again, and he would go to attack Sami Zayn. However, he would catch him, toss him to the outside of the ring, and that would be that. There would be no kind of altercation between them or anything necessarily. He just kind of gets out the way and smoothly ducks what Drew McIntyre was kind of coming from with behind. But yeah, really good stuff from this Saturday night's main event. I definitely did enjoy it. Trick Williams came out looking like a really big star here. They built the Jacob Fatu and Cody Rhodes story up really well, to where I'm interested to see another match. And yeah, I think this AJ Styles thing is definitely leading me more so to believe that he actually will retire at the Royal Rumble. It is abrupt, as you mentioned, but it does kind of feel like we're leading that way.
Yeah, and I guess as well, this is what we're going to be able to see from WWE pay-per-views, where there's a lot more action, not a lot of in-between stuff. I'm really excited to see what a Royal Rumble is going to bring to us, because I hope we kind of get more of these like more good matches, longer duration. The AJ Styles match went 21 minutes, and that wasn't the main event. It went longer than the main event as well, so that's another thing. AJ Styles, like we kind of talked about, it does feel like it's coming to an end. Everything's kind of aligning up with each other, but again, it feels like there's still so much left to do before he does call it quits in WWE. So I guess Royal Rumble is going to be a very interesting night.
Yeah, whether he retires or he doesn't retire, he will likely still stick around, whether it be TNA, AEW, New Japan, wherever he decides to go. I do believe there will be more post WWE. But that is going to wrap up the video. We will likely have some more AJ Styles content for you very shortly, especially if he is going to retire, of course. But we appreciate you guys for watching. Leave a like and subscribe, and we appreciate you for coming through.